Hey, welcome out to another fantastic episode of Speak from the Couch. I'm your host, Rob Lee, and today we have with us one of the foundational pieces of Speak. Going back 15 years now. No, that's not true. All right, let's rewind the tape. Chris, how many years when did you start with the project? Like 10 years, no?
I was in Miami for 5. I've been here for 4. So I would say 8 to
9.
9. Yeah, it's been. You can say 10. It sounds better to say 10.
Nice round number.
8 sounds weird. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so Jack will cut that part out. Let's start over. All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Rob Lee here. Another episode of Speak from the Couch. We have with us today comedian extraordinaire, my man Chris Kane. In the house, yes. Listen, let me touch on some stuff that happened last week. We had an opportunity to interview Fabio Tamburini from Italy, and it was a great interview. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Good content, and we're going bi-coastal today. From Miami to LA. All right, so we've got with us, like I said, my man Chris Kane. It's gonna be a different type of interview than it was last week. So I hope you enjoy this. Chris and I go back about 10 years now. He started with Speak 10 years ago, and Chris is one of those guys that, he's a pleasure to have on the team. He was really instrumental in what we built on the Speak brand, and continues to give back, and we love him. So Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey man. Thank y'all for having me, man. Happy to be here. I'm talking. What are you? Y'all can't hear me?
You were too busy breakdancing. All right.
No. I said thank y'all for having
me. Let me start over.
Okay.
No, it's my bad.
Okay.
Plus, I was fucking up that intro anyway, so let me start over. I don't know, man. Your face is just making me laugh, bro. All right, so take 2.
So take the mask off.
Chris.
What?
You're still smiling, man. All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? All right, one at a time. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Rob. Another fun episode of Speak from the Couch. Today's guest is none other than my man, Chris Kane, comedian extraordinaire. Started right here at Speak 10 years ago. And he was instrumental with all that he contributed to the platform. He's here again, still contributing to the platform. We miss you. We love you. We're glad that you're on the show with us, coming all the way in, streaming in live from LA, Miami link up right now. So, listen, without further ado, Chris, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
Hey, Rob, thanks for having me. Thank y'all, Speak family. I'm doing great. It's sunny in California. I'm having a good time.
You say it's sunny in California, but behind you is black as night.
It's a black screen, man. Listen, we can't go outside without a mask on. So you have to catch me on the inside, and so this is where I do all my taping stuff with the black.
You didn't get any government assistance, bro.
Hasn't come through yet.
Hey, Chris, I want to talk to you a little bit about what that early time we shared at Speak in South Miami was like for you. I know it was a struggle to get on stage because, listen, Speak was popping when you came on the scene. It was popping, and I know it was tough to get on stage, but talk to me a little bit about that.
Listen, you alluded to it. It was tough early on because you didn't know who I was. And so I felt like a lame trying to get into a club. I didn't have any kind of clearance. And I was like, yo, I'm on a guest list. And you're like, nah, fam, you're not on the list. So it was like every week was me trying to move further and further up the list. And eventually I started helping set up and break down. And I just kept bothering you. I was very persistent. And I think you saw.
What? I did see that. And listen, your commitment, one, to get on that stage and be a part of what was going on came across big time. And I mean, I wish more cats saw things and did things the same way that you did, because, you know, here's a platform that we all spent time and love and care to develop. And a lot of people come see it and just want to get on right away. And, you know, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. We've got quality controls and all that stuff in place, right? So when you came on, you were patient, you were cool, you were humble, hungry, and smart. And you started to help out, like you said. I mean, we were moving chairs together, we were mopping the floor after the show, and you still had a good attitude. How did you keep that good attitude?
Listen, man, it comes from a lot of failure in dating. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, when you shoot your shot 20 times a game and one go in, you just, hey, that's 5%, baby. You just kind of roll with the numbers. So it was more like, you remember back on Family Matters when Steve Urkel wanted Laura, and he was trying for like 8 seasons, getting shut down, but like at the end of season 8, he finally got her. It was like that approach with Speak. I'm like, listen, he don't know me now. I mop this floor good enough. If I keep a good attitude, at some point, I'm just gonna be the last one standing. I'm just gonna be the last dude here. And eventually he was like, hey, you want to grab the mic? And I was like a staircase. This guy? And you're like, yeah, man, like, you know, I'm about to go outside, talk to some people, just bring the next person up. And I was just like, and it just, that kind of started everything. So a lifetime of failure, basically, is what led to the patience.
Listen, man, but your persistence and your willingness to roll up your sleeve and help us out, because a lot of people don't really see anything beyond the final product. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't see how the sausage is made. You know, it's not a pretty process sometimes. You know, mopping the floors at the end of the night, you know, people might have issues with that. But the fact that, you know, we were all a team, you know what I mean? And we'd do it together. And, you know, we'll celebrate the wins together, and we'll take the L's together. And you were there doing that without any benefit to begin with. So that speaks volumes about you and your character, man, like that.
Well, look, I think part of it is you built a culture. And the culture was that it's a we, not a me kind of situation. And so, like, if it was just me setting up chairs and you sitting in the back on the throne, maybe it wouldn't have come across the right way. But like, when you're willing to put the Speak sign up, when you're there to turn the lights on, when you're there to like pour water in the buckets, at a certain point, yeah, you had enough people that you didn't have to be maybe as hands-on, but early on, you're like, look, I'm gonna grab these chairs, you grab those few. And I was like, oh, you right here in the trenches with me. So the culture you said is that we all do this. People would just go to Speak 2-3 hours into the show just to be around. Like, they may not even be able to get inside. It's so crowded. They'll just be outside in the parking lot just to be near what was going on, because it was a vibe, man. It was a Friday night ritual. I had dates come through to Speak. You know, it was like that was some swag. Hey, come on by to Speak. You know, I'll get you in. You say what? And I'm like, you know, I know the guy at the door. You know, it was like it was a whole vibe. Like the whole community was coming together on every Friday night, and it was a pleasure to be a part of it. Really. To still be a part of it.
Yeah, man. And likewise, it's still a pleasure to have you on board, man. And thank you. You know, when you did get your time on stage, and that's really what it's about, right? Making the most of that time. Yeah. You know, when you got up there, you did your thing, and then we saw the development over the years of kind of working together and see you grow into the comic that you are, and now, you know, writing, you know, your own pilots and so on. So talk to me about the transition from, you know, doing it in Miami to now moving over to LA. How's that?
It's different. Here's the thing. In Miami, there are less clubs in general. So the crowds are bigger, right? Like, to have the opportunity to go to Speak and be in front of between 75 and buck or whatever people there is rare. In LA, you go to a club other than like the big ones like the Comedy Store, whatever. A lot of these little clubs is 20 seats, 30 seats, and it's mostly comedians. And comedians are the most critical people because all they're thinking about is, when am I going to get on stage? So they're not watching you like, oh man, good set. They're like, you're not done yet. But in Miami, like, there aren't a ton of venues. So most of them were pretty well packed. And so it got you used to performing in front of a lot of people, which the pressure ramps up. Because if you fail in front of 80 people, that's a lot of memories. Like, yo, you the guy who forgot his jokes. I'm like, that was one time, bro. Let it go. Like, that was 3 years ago, fam. But out here, you may do a show in front of like 8 comics who don't even matter. So it's like maybe getting up for the comedy is not as easy because the stakes aren't as high. So then when you come out here, though, everyone's here to do the same thing. We're all trying to follow the dream. It's a very mercenary type city. People aren't here to build other people up. In Miami, you, like I said, you built a culture about we're trying to come together and we're trying to build this together, and people got better about being a part of it. Out here, it's like if you're not good when you get out here, you just kind of get pushed to the bottom. And it's not about it's about I'm going to start a comedy show so I can perform 20 minutes of comedy and just throw a few other people on the show. But this is really a glorified thing for me. It's not about the people I put on the show. And until you get on, that's kind of what people are doing. They're looking out for themselves. So
that's super interesting. So you say the culture here was much more a supportive type deal than what you're experiencing in LA, right?
Yeah.
So you've produced a couple of shows in LA, a couple of live shows, right? Yeah. So did you experience the same thing from the producer perspective? Like when you put your shows on, was the room just like a bunch of comics just waiting to get my turn up there?
I'll say this. One of the biggest things I learned from you was you gave me a template to try to apply. Now, again, Speak is, been around forever. So like me starting from scratch and where Speak is now, it's not comparable, but what your goal is a certain thing. I always book comics that I thought were funny. Some I thought were funnier than me, which I don't think any comic would do if their game plan was to be the star. You wouldn't put anybody better than you. There are people who like the Sean G's and Ron G's, people who I think are great. I'm like, listen, man, I want you on the show. And I'll give them more time than me because my biggest concern was putting on a good show and then having the show build based on the reputation of the show being good. We sell tickets to the show. The first show we did, we had 110 people there, which is crazy. It was a show I did for my birthday this time last year. We had Tink come through because he's a friend of mine. He came through and performed, which is crazy. Like he told me he would come through, but this is Hollywood. You don't know what's going to happen. He came through. He got on stage. People took video and picture like, yo, check out Chris's show. Tank's here. And I was like, oh man, I can do this. And the next show we had like 40 people. So degrees so what I've learned is trying to keep it up from month to month is difficult. Managing comedians' egos. I'm sure the talent is the talent. So people agree to it, then they kind of get flaky, then they need special accommodations. And I wasn't used to the production side of it. So I assume certain comics won't show up. I know some people are high maintenance. You deal with it, but ultimately
it's a balancing act, right?
There you go.
It's a balancing act. And look, recognizing that you have a different role as producer than comic. Again, it says a lot. You are allowing others to shine on your show. That's what it's about, man. It's sharing, and you're creating that community by just doing what you're doing over there.
I'm trying to be, I'm a Rob disciple. And I don't know if you have to say that.
Have you got anybody to mop the floors yet?
We don't have to. They do it themselves, actually. The venue does it. Yeah, the venue takes care of it.
They're spoiling you.
I'm a little spoiled because we have a bar, actually, at the place where I do comedy. We have a bar, and then they take care of all the mopping and cleaning and stuff. So all we have to do is organize a show, and then we get out, and everything else is done. So we don't have to
do the show, and you leave.
I'm out. I'm out the door, baby. You don't see me until next week.
We got to make sure we don't air this episode in Miami because then I'll never have anybody mopping the floor. So listen, what's been the toughest part of quarantine for you so far?
I'm trying to figure out how truthful I can be.
I guess that means dating during quarantine.
Listen, man, I'll say this in the most PC way. I had a bunch of shots in the air before this happened. All right. I've been pulling up from 30 for the last 2 months. And I had some shots in the air that were getting ready to drop. And then Corona was like, nah, fam, we putting the brakes on.
Ronald gave you one of these.
No. I was like, I don't need the finger. So, and again, the thing is that it's indefinite. That's the part that throws people off, is that when it first happened, we got locked down in early March in LA. So I know you guys came a lot later than we did. So this is like, I'm 2 months in almost into this. So, and I work at a gym, and gyms haven't really opened yet. So my gym won't reopen probably until early June, later than that. So the work part is whatever, but I had possible date opportunities, and I had girls I was talking to, and I'm trying to figure out my life. And now
so
it's
wait a minute, time out. Hold on. So you mentioned the gym, right? So we know that you left here, you followed your passion to go to LA, where there's more opportunity for the comedy route, but you're still a working artist. You're still holding down a job to do what you're passionate about, right?
Yeah. Look, 90% of people out here that you see, other than the people you see like on TV, like they have a series and they're in movies, they're doing other stuff. You may see, I know people who I've seen them in a TV show I liked 5 years ago who are doing Uber type stuff because they got that check. Wow. And I paid for, maybe it's a 10K check. Boom. 10K is nice, but 10K is only nice in the moment. You only get 10K once. That's not like real money. So a lot of these people that you've seen and like, oh, that's so-and-so, is like, yeah, they haven't had any hit in like 5 or 6 years. The people who are like, I train a client who's actively on a TV show, he's fine. Like season 3, he's getting X number of dollars per episode. He's fine.
The checks are consistent.
He's living a very good life, but he's in the 1% bracket. Number of people, like, there are a lot of comedians that you see on TV and you've seen in like arenas and stuff who are like struggling right now because they make money on the road, and now the road is shut down, so they're not making money from the show, and they haven't budgeted their money to like sustain 2 months of not making money. They're on IG Live doing comedy shows, charging people $5 a ticket and stuff because they're struggling too. So the gym is an amazing place, one, to meet people. I've met, I don't know if I can drop names of people on this, but I've met some really high level people just at my job.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could drop names on here.
Okay. Well, I don't know, like, they might get mad, but
they might get mad, but we're cool with it if you're cool with it.
Well, look, so like one of our members before he built his own gym was Kevin Hart. So I would see Kevin, 3 or 4 times a week at the gym as a normal dude. He doesn't wear headphones in the gym. So you walk up to him like, "What's up, Kevin?" Like, "Hey, what's going on, man? Bow, whatever." Do all that Kevin Hart stuff, dap him up. You see like Bill Bellamy come in.
Time out. Let's stay on the Kevin Hart vibe for a second, because you said something really that struck a chord with me right before this, which was, hey, when you get that one pop, sometimes it doesn't happen consistently, right? Well, we worked with Kevin Hart and his team a few years back. We were flying high, but in the back of my mind, I was already looking like, okay, Kevin and his team may work with us a couple of times, but what's next? So, what was your experience like with him in particular?
Here's the thing. The dude you see on TV is a lot of what he is in real life. He's walking around, he's very charismatic, shaking hands, all that kind of stuff. He actually would pick fights with me for no reason at all. Like just little verbal spats, but like most people aren't willing to go tit for tat with him. But I'm a comic, so I'm here for it. So like I told Kevin, I'm a grown man version of you, and it hurt his feelings. It hurt him.
I couldn't get over. Listen, Kevin Hart, if you happen to hear this podcast, I apologize, but you know what? I was amazed at how tiny he is. Like really, he was like an action figure, tiny. But super. Listen, I have a lot of respect for the dude's work ethic. I mean, he flew in, he did his thing. His team everybody had their it was very organized. By the end of the show, we pounded up. Hey, all right, boom, boom, boom. I turned on my phone on the drive home, and he was on a plane doing his whole thing from the plane. So I'm like, this guy has a serious amount of energy.
He goes like that, man. And here's the thing, like he loves every part of it. Like I've met celebrities who they want to be famous, but they don't want to deal with people. Like people walking up to him trying to get pictures randomly. Hey, can you put me on? Like that annoys a lot of people. He lives in that space. He wants to be seen. He's loud when he works out. Like, my gosh, I'm tired. Like he's doing all the shit. You tell him he's that guy. He's doing that stuff because he wants the attention. He wants people to talk to him. And he didn't, like, I told him I was a comic, but like we didn't have in-depth talks on that. He was asking me more about workouts and stuff. And he asked me what I put in my hair one day. Like in the locker room, he walked by. He was like, "So, what are you putting in your hair?" And I was like, I knew he was making a joke. I knew it. So I was like, "Man, chill, Kev. We're not doing that. We're not doing that today." He's like, "Oh, what? So what? You too big? Tell me what you put in your hair?" And I was like, "You're famous, dude. Like, what are you putting in your hair?" And I finally told him. I said, "I use this Shea Moisture." He's like, "Whoa, Shea Moisture. Okay, wow." And then like a group of dudes just started laughing. I was just like, I play right into it. I knew what he was doing the whole time. I knew it. And I was like, dude, we have the same hair. We both have our hair picked out and sponged. Why are you asking me these questions? You're worth 500,000 times more than I am. We're not doing this today, bro. But that's his personality, though. He just goes.
Yeah. So you're missing that social interaction and paycheck from the gym. What are you doing in the meantime to kind of? Oh, they're still paying you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm doing fine.
I'm in a blessed to sit in a dark room and talk to me.
Well, they're not paying me for this, but because I still have virtual clients. And
Let me ask you something. You ever go use the bathroom at the gym and think, man, they are still paying me?
Never. That's a weird thought. Why would I do that? This is what I've been. This is the thing. So I got to train Drea Michelle at one point, which is cool. A couple times actually. And she's like, any women listening know who she is. She's from like Basketball Wives, and she was dated Chris Brown, a few other high level people. She's a social woman person. I didn't know who she was because I don't watch those shows, whatever.
Right.
I'm not that guy. I'm not the demographic. And I trained her a few times, and she posted something about me. And I was off shift, so I wasn't getting paid anymore. But she was working out horribly, and I just saw her. I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I started helping her out a little bit. She posted it, and I got like 100 follows in like a couple hours because she has like 8 million followers. I didn't even follow her. She just like, "Hey, what's your IG?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Sexy Comedy, whatever." And I just kind of walked away. Cool. And I was walking away. I was thinking, I could have clocked in for that, but I think the social clout of just floating around the gym, because I didn't want to drive home, it was trafficy, whatever. Just being at my job, I was watching TV and I saw her working out my peripheral, and I was like, "What's she doing? Let me go help." And then I was like, I was just at my job, and I got connected to somebody who people like. She's in clubs with like Nas and Trey Songz and these guys, and I get to just walk up to her like, "Hey, what are you doing for your squats?"
Yeah.
Like that's the part that hits me. Like I get to just walk up to you without having to like go through the Hollywood red tape kind of thing. That is what I don't think about the bathroom, Rob, sitting there like, I'm getting paid to, I'm not that guy.
Well, that's another difference between LA and Miami. In Miami, I sit on the toilet and think, I'm still getting paid. All right, but listen, what I like about your comedic style is you're a great storyteller. So where do you get your inspiration for those stories? Are they all true?
They are mostly true. Here's the thing. Now I'm writing scripts and stuff. I can like add some stuff. Every story is based in truth. It may be partly hyperbolic at certain points to make it funnier. But the jokes that really go are the ones that are most true because they have real passion behind it. Yeah. So I think like the bit I did in Miami that got the most whatever was like my cruise three-way story. Where I'm in a room with my boy. We share a room on a cruise, and he brings a girl in, and she thinks I'm asleep. I'm awake the whole time, and whatever. But that's a real story for people who have siblings. If you lived in college,
wait. What do you mean, whatever? Why don't you let our audience hear the joke? Tell me the joke, Chris.
Rob, you've heard this joke many times. I don't know what you're trying to do. All right, I'll give you the cliff notes of the joke. basically, we're on a cruise ship and we share a room because it's the cheapest way to be on a cruise, 2 people to a room. We go out to the club on the cruise and I strike out, not the coolest thing I ever did, whatever. I go back to the room. My roommate picks up a girl and he brings her back to the room. Now I'm laying with my head turned towards the wall. So she walks in and he walks in and it's kind of dark on the boat. And she's like, oh no, your roommate is here. We should leave. And he's like, don't worry about that guy. He's asleep. He just wanted to get with the girl. He didn't care if I was asleep or awake. But my head was turned away. But I wasn't asleep. I was wide awake. And so he starts hooking up with his girl and he fails. Like 3 minutes in, that boy's out of there. Done. He's embarrassed. She's disgusted. I'm disgusted. It's my best friend. I'm disgusted with him. She's disgusted with him. He's disgusted with himself. And the next day, like I knew this information, but he didn't know I knew. And so at breakfast the next morning, we had our whole crew together.
Thought you were sleeping.
He really thought I was asleep. He didn't know that I knew. So like the next morning at breakfast, we're all sitting around talking. I was like, hey man, how was last night? He's like, oh, pretty good, standard. I'm like, was it standard? Was it? Or did you fail miserably? He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, bro, I was awake. I know what happened. And it's one of the, I bring it up every couple of months to this day. He's still my best friend. I bring it up all the time. It always makes him upset. He's still embarrassed to buy it. But because it was such a real story, when I tell it on stage, people are so like drawn in, like the whole idea of,
yeah.
I call it the unofficial three-way. And I think that's what pulls people in. They haven't heard the phrase. So
well, you listen, in all fairness, I have heard the joke a couple of times, and you do a good job framing it out because you explain it and you put people in the room with you guys almost, so we could see it going down, and we're all disgusted at the end of that story, by the way. So if you could smoke a joint with anyone alive or that has passed on, who would that person be and why?
Well, here's the thing. I've never smoked before, so I don't even know what that would do to me. So that.
All right, let's move on. So
I can answer the question. I'm not.
You live in LA. You live in California, and you.
I don't do. We have dispensaries everywhere. You know what? I got free weed after a show one time, and I just brought it home to my roommate. I just didn't like. It was a bag. It was like papers, actual weed, pre-made like joints and stuff.
There's no such thing as free weed, my friend. Somebody was trying to get with you on the cruise.
I'll explain it. So, like, one of my clients is a porn star, and she was being sponsored by
There
weed.
it is.
So they wanted her. They didn't want me. So they sponsored. This was her event. She threw a comedy show, and she's my client, so she put me on the show. And they sponsored the event with the weed of the company that wants her to be part of their company. And she's like, hey guys, they gave me a whole bunch of weed. I took my portion, but this is left over for the performers. And everybody was like, oh, weed. And I was like, I only need weed. But I was like, my roommate will probably enjoy this. And I just brought it home. I left it at his door. And he came home. He was like, did you leave this gift basket of weed by my room? I was like, yeah.
A gift basket of weed. Wait, so how is it training a porn star?
It's fantastic.
Do you have a special routine for your porn star client?
It's all porn stuff. It's all porn stuff.
Like, okay, give us an example of a porn workout.
It's very devoted to like legs and butts and hip extensions. So
yeah.
Here's the thing. I didn't know she was a porn star when I met her. She was a woman with like triple D's, but she was a mad cool chick. And
that was a giveaway right there, man. Well, red flag.
Listen, some girls are blessed. So I met her, and she's a really down to earth girl. And she told me she was a massage therapist or whatever. I was like, all right, cool. I can believe that too. Why? What?
Second red flag.
So we start working out, and I started seeing dudes around us, like kind of hovering. I'm like, what are these random dudes? And we finished our session. We did a whole like deadlift workout. Deadlifts are mostly for hamstring and butt, which is exactly what she wanted. So we did like 3 variations of deadlift, and then some hip bridges, which is another butt exercise. So it was all butt, all hips. And she's like, oh man, I'm so sore. And I'm like, well, I'm just doing my job. And she left, and all these dudes were like, bro, that's my favorite porn star. And I was like, what? It's like, that's my favorite, bro. I was like, is that what she does? And my dude pulled his phone out. It was just like scrolling through all her videos and stuff. And I was like, oh man. But she's super flexible, very cool chick.
I'm sure she is. Do you guys do like any yoga stretches or anything like that?
She's very flat. I mean, she doesn't need me. Part of her warm up is yoga stuff, but she doesn't need me for that. She's plenty stretched. She needs me for the muscle part, but it's fine. She's dope. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Well, I would like to. Well, after the call, we'll talk some more about that. So, back to the original question: who would you have a drink with? Do you drink?
No.
God damn it!
I didn't drink in Miami though. You know, I was drinking cranberry juice.
Well, but now you're in LA. I figured, you'd smoke a little bit, you drink a little bit. Isn't Snoop Dogg and all that stuff over there? I mean, that's where all that stuff comes from.
I actually have a Snoop Dogg story if you want to hear it. We can get into that.
I would love to hear it.
All right, so let me answer the drinking weed question, then we'll get into the Snoop story. When I moved out here, my biggest thing was I didn't want to let the city change who and what I was. There's plenty of drinking and weed in Miami. It wasn't like it was unavailable. I just didn't. That's not my get down.
Just the weed's illegal.
Doesn't stop anybody. Doesn't never stop anybody from smoking. So when I moved out here, it was unlimitedly available. Right? Again, they gave it to me at shows, comedy clubs. If you're a comedian, they'll give you drink tickets to get free drinks all the time. And I just give it to other people. I just don't have any. There's no want to. It's not like I'm trying to be good. When you can say, "Hey, Chris, I got alcohol," I'm like, I have wine in my refrigerator right now. Not for me, for women. When they come over, I got vodka. I got a whole bar of stuff here, man. I got margarita.
For when they come over. All right, let's move past this. All right, so tell me the story.
All right. So when I first got here, I did a lot of like background TV stuff just to be near TV sets, see how sets were run, and to maybe like meet some celebrity people on the low and get paid to watch it be done. So I got to watch the Snoop and Martha cook-off show, which has been on for I think 4 seasons now. It's pretty dope. I did like 3 or 4 episodes of it. And they had one episode with, there's always Snoop and Martha. They had George Lopez, and I want to say Chili from TLC. We're all like the people on the show. They're making tacos and that kind of thing. Tacos and nachos. And the whole point of this show is Martha makes something the traditional way, and then Snoop makes it his way. And he always goes off the cuff like, I'm putting ketchup in his mouth. He does whatever he wants to do. Martha's over here measuring stuff out. And then we get to taste it to see which one is better. So they made some nachos, and Snoop's nachos look way better than Martha's. I'm just saying, just for the record, not a Martha Stewart hater. And I'm in the crowd, and I see him, and I raise my hand, which you're not allowed to do. And I say, "Hey, yo, Snoop, what's up with those nachos?" And he heard me. He was like, "Hey, yo, nephew, you want some of these?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he picks up his plate and walks out to the crowd. And he's like, "Yo, get you some of this." And I start eating a nacho or two. And he's like, "They good, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, man." And everyone around me is like, "Does he know Snoop? How's he doing this?" And Snoop does not care at all because they had to reshoot a scene with the nachos. So he messed up the continuity of the shot because there were less nachos than the scene before. But he didn't even care. And the director comes running from the back. He's like, "Snoop, you can't do that." And Snoop was like, "I do what I want." And he walks back on stage with a plate of nachos. And they were delicious. Everyone was like, "Do you know Snoop?" It was dope. It was like just a random moment in time that we just got to share some nachos with Snoop Dogg.
So I guess that nachos with Snoop does not trump smoking weed with Snoop, but it's right up there.
I like to smoke with him. Listen, I guess Snoop would be a dope person to smoke with because I imagine the things he talks about when he's real high, it's got to be metaphysical. Like he's on a level that, you know.
Well, first of all, his tolerance must be like on another level. Like that guy smokes weed in everything I see him in, So I'm just thinking he is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of weed smoking. You know what I mean?
It's pretty high level. He's pretty high level.
10-degree black belt. Yeah. All right. So talk to me about your comedy influences.
Oh, that's a good question. When I first started wanting to do comedy, I think Cat Williams was at the end of his run. That's why, right? This is after the Pimp Chronicles.
I think Cat would take offense to that, but keep going.
Say his run, he's still performing. He did a set in Jacksonville 2 years ago. But I'm saying his run. You know when I say you on a run, like Dane Cook performs comedy, but Dane Cook had a run where he was like public enemy number one. Like when Cat Williams had a run from probably like 2000 to like maybe like '08, where he was like,
he was on top of his game.
He was on top of the world. Where like this right here, this like that was like everywhere. I think Cat is hilarious actually, but that's not important. So when I first
Louis
saw him,
C.K., talk about runs that just ran amok, just ran into a wall.
Yeah, that's what happens. But here's the thing.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. And listen, Louis been doing comedy for the last 6 months. He's just been doing it like in smaller venues. He's working on a new special. And then obviously Corona happened, so whatever. But don't be shocked if you see a Louis C.K. special this year. And from what I've heard from people, it's really funny. He's really like introspective and very self-deprecating and all that stuff. But like Kevin Hart's on his run right now. But if you really think about it, Kevin Hart might be at the end of his comedic run, like his stand-up, while his movie career is picking up. But Kevin Hart's biggest, oh my God, no, he wasn't ready. Like that was like probably the apex of Kevin Hart's comedy run. Like he was so high up that he's coming down off of it, but he's not coming down too. He's still a giant in the game. But there are people like Amy Schumer had a run for a couple of years where a couple specials where Amy Schumer got a TV show. She's in a bunch of movies. And it's like Eddie Murphy's run from 82 to 88 basically in stand-up that he just let it go. So it's like everyone has their seasons. There are people who still perform comedy for 30, 40 years, but they haven't run. The comedian who I like the most and who I want to be most like is Patrice O'Neal. He's the one that I think he was special in what he was doing. I thought he was ahead of his time, but he was so like blunt and brash for what he did that he wasn't well received as much as he should have been during his time. But nowadays, when I see a lot of comedians, because comedians do interviews all the time, a lot of them mention him as people they look up to. But he died in 2011. And now, like 10 years later, he's getting his flowers in death. You know what I'm saying? It's like he's been made immortalized by him dying. Like Kevin Hart was on the Joe Rogan Experience last year talking about Patrice. Like they all talk about like, man, if he had still been around, Bill Burr was one of his best friends, talks about him all the time. If he was still around to this day, he would be the biggest comic because he was saying
he'd be one of the bigs for sure. Listen, he's one of my favorites. I mean, if whoever's listening or watching this, if you haven't had a chance to check out Patrice O'Neal's stuff, I mean, from the Chappelle Show to Elephant in the Room, I mean, he's a real deal. So yeah, great mountain to look at and say, hey, that's what I want to. Well, yeah, bad analogy, but impressive comedy career, and just ended too short. Listen, man. We're going on 40 plus minutes with this chat. It's just tell me a little bit about what you're up to now. So, and maybe where people can find your stuff now, and we'll wrap it soon.
All right. Well, I'm at the house, courtesy of Corona. So you can't get the crib. What I'm working on now is I told you off camera. I just finished the first draft of a new sitcom I'm working on. That's tentatively called Do Better. It's like a therapy-based comedy show, basically. So it's like the main star in the show he's not a certified therapist, but he's trying to help people do better. But it's a comedy. So it's everything you see on TV is 30 minutes, act 1, act 2, act 3, whatever. I think it's good. I think it's funny. I'll let you read it offset. And when it's done, hopefully we'll be pitching it during next pilot season, which is this time next year. But so I'm working on that. Obviously new material. I've been doing new material all year, like stand-up new material. And the goal was to shoot a half an hour special in mid-June, but obviously that's not happening. So we're pushing that back a little bit. So that new joke is coming along. You can find me on social media at Sexy Comedy, on Facebook, on IG. I have a Twitter. It's called Sexy Comedy. I don't use Twitter. You can follow me if you want to. I'm not going to get a response. Like, you're not going to find me doing anything. Mostly IG, Sexy Comedy is the place to find me. Posting just random, like, funny clips. But when this is all said and done, we're hoping, like, in early June, then I'll start posting more and more stand-up clips. And then hopefully we'll have a date to when to shoot the half an hour special. And then we'll kind of put that out and see what it does.
Well, keep us posted. We're here to help. As I said in the beginning, you've been, true to, you know, who you are, and we appreciate you for you, and we appreciate you serving the platform and continuing to do that. And, you know, the platform serves you and serves us. So let's continue to grow, my man. Thank you so much for hopping on with us. Keep it cool over there in LA. Get the lights back on soon, bro. And yeah, man. Listen, log in to IG at Speak Fridays. Check us out on Spotify at Speak Miami. Just search Speak Miami for all the podcast episodes. We've got some really broad and diverse interviews from artists to CEOs to, you know, everything in between. So, and that's really what it's all about, bringing community in this podcast game.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you.
Hey, man. Thank
to
you.
Everybody out there, thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Peace out, y'all.
Peace.